Why am I still reporting on Wim Hof? This is the question that I get. I mean, every single day, my inbox is flooded with this question. People have seen my video on the business practices and what's going on with Einem, uh, and they want to know if this is rage or a vendetta or revenge or something like this. Is this a personal thing between Einem and I that I'm sorting out far too publicly? And it's not. I mean, not really. But there is a personal aspect. And I feel like I need to do a video explaining where I'm coming from, because I think people are getting the wrong idea of what it is that I do as an investigative journalist and where I feel my responsibility lies. This is totally off the cuff. I'm not scripting this. There's no rolling text for me to follow. This is just speaking from my heart. I met Wim in 2013, and I did not believe the method was going to be real. It turned out it was amazing, and it changed my life, and I love what it did for me. It changed the way I deal with emotional relationships. It changed. It got me into a better marriage. It cured an autoimmune disease. The Wim Hof Method, what I learned in that process was magical and amazing and revolutionized everything. And I spent 10 years building up Wim Hof and the organization. And even though I'm not as powerful like Joe Rogan and these other people who were very important in building Wim to the international man of mystery that he is now, without me there giving him credibility and honestly staking my whole career on the Wim Hof Method, it would have not been as smooth a ride into where he is now. And I love the fact that the books that I've written and Wim Hof's message has cured many people of anxiety and depression and autoimmune illnesses and all the things that I write about in my books. It is amazing. And I completely stand by what I have learned and what so many people have learned in the world because of Wim. But there's this other parallel track that I think is very important to put out. You know, it's one thing to build a myth about somebody, and it's another thing to tell the truth. And I have always tried to be very clear that Wim Hof is an amazing door opener, but he didn't create cold. He didn't create breathing. What he did was he opened a door for people to follow through, and that has been, he is the vehicle for this to happen. But I'm also very clear that Wim Hof, he may be a prophet, but he is also a madman. And he says things that are wrong all the time. And, you know, at first it was my job to correct him on science and put the information out in an intelligible way. And many people feel the same thing. You know, you look around videos on the internet and they don't talk about Wim Hof's like COVID denial and the talk about the New World Order and the sort of like, you know, that the Wim Hof method will cure AIDS and cancer. These are things that Wim Hof says. And people are like, well, he didn't really mean that. It's focus on the breathing. This is good. And I get that. I understand why people try to craft an image around him in order to spread the message, because there is this sort of greater good principle. But at some point that breaks down. And for me, that breaks down. And, you know, many of you have seen this video that I put out on Rumble, on YouTube, that was then taken down and then has now ended up on Rumble. And I wanted to expose my concerns with the business practices around Inner Fire. And I think I did that very well and very balanced. And for those who didn't think I did it balanced or well, I gave you all of my sources so you could go look at them. And no journalist does this normally. No journalist publishes their full interviews. But I did that because I get it. People don't want to hear bad things about a method that they love. I don't really want to even say bad things about a method that I love. And that's why it took me 10 years to put this out. And I think after putting that video out and after having a pretty strong reaction from Inner Fire, it has prompted me to look deeper. And I believe as a journalist, and maybe this is my failing, I believe that truth matters. I believe that that having the record, looking at facts, putting them out and judging them, and if the facts are, if the reporting is wrong, you correct the reporting. I believe that this process is fundamental to truth in the world. I believe in the power of good journalism. I believe in the power of facts. And I think that people have been building a myth around Wim Hof so tall that it is impossible for him to escape the weight of it. And now I think millions of people would rather believe a myth than see the truth. And the truth is that Wim is a flawed person. When I went up Kilimanjaro with him, he ditched the whole group. He almost got us killed on the final ascent. That's true. That's recorded in What Doesn't Kill Us. He gave himself a near fatal enema. That was in a video that was taken down. He is teaching a method right now that is hyperventilation followed by a full lung inhale. It was 12 quick breaths. I saw this video the other day. I did not expect to see this video. He's 12 times. That's enough to get lightheaded. Full lung, put the face in the water. And even though that particular incident, there were 30 people around and I don't think anyone would pass out, that type of breathing is the recipe for shallow water blackout. And I've noticed this before with Wim. I've seen Wim. I was on stage with Wim in 2018 when he led a group of probably about 300 people in the standard Wim Hof breathing. It was a hyperventilation and followed by a full lung inhale. And then he played on the screen the image of him swimming under the ice in, I think it was Finland. It was the Discovery Channel special. And he said told people to hold their breath while he swam under the ice. This is a message. This is a direct message that you should do the Wim Hof method in water, even if he says on his website and in other places, don't do this. And the reason why I'm now collecting names of and news stories of people who have died from shallow water blackout is because that is a real issue. And in 2016, everyone was doing this, right? It wasn't just Wim. Everyone was doing the hyperventilation and heavy workouts, and it turned out that the science was dangerous. And then people got informed about shallow water blackout. 2 Navy SEALs died, not from the Wim Hof method, but they just died from shallow water blackout. And then all of these news stories started coming out saying that people were drowning doing the Wim Hof method. Laird, it was part of XPT at first, and Laird was like, "Oh man, I made an error," and he took that breathwork, hyperventilation stuff out of XPT. I recorded that in What Doesn't Kill Us. It seemed like the world got the message. But it's clear that when I went on stage with him, this was months later, and he's still teaching it, and he's still teaching it in 2023. And I think right now my list, just got another name on my list. You can see here, it's at 13 names. Maybe 11 of those are drownings. All of those could be avoided, I believe, if it was very, very clear that you don't do that. And so I'm in this personal pickle. I love the Wim Hof method. I love the breathing. I practice it all the time, and yet I find it really hard to not tell the truth about things. I don't like it that the message from Anum is that my stuff should be taken down and not discussed and not processed by the organization. That's where I am right now. That's why I'm doing all of this. Thanks for listening. 10 minutes of this.